All right. Now, what do I think the last year, mainly, more and more every day, about people who have the money to build and have the opportunity to build, they build. And then they build straw houses, pretty much, in areas where they shouldn't. So we have people building, they choose to build in a line place. So when we build, right, we build because we build in an area maybe where we work. So we believe we're going to work at a place for a long time or be at a place for a long time. You decide to build there. Wouldn't that be right, Emma?
Yeah.
But if you do that, you got to make sure where you got your job. Some people get paid more in certain countries, in certain areas, as there's more wealth around to spread that money out easier, huh? As there's stuff around to collect and use. Like mining areas. Western Australia makes most of the money in the rest of Australia, right? As they've got all the mines, right, and make all the money in that area. But they don't have too much of anything else. And so when it comes to do I feel sorry for people who go through tragedies? Some I do. I feel sorry for people who have to rent homes that are straw houses, um, that have to rent homes that are straw houses at a higher price as their government and their friends and all that have a way where it needs to be up so expensive because of the straw houses damages. You know what I mean? Insurance and stuff like that. I could say more about it, but I feel sorry for people like that more than I feel sorry for people who had the opportunity to build their own home and now it's gone and they're crying about it. Well, they took it's called gambling. It's like it's like hearing a gambler take a risk, gambles, right? Been going good for a few years even. Right? Maybe even gambles too high one day. Loses all their money. It's the same sort of boat, right? Loses all their money and comes and whinges to everybody that he shouldn't be broke. It was just that one off. It was a bad luck. Oh, it shouldn't have happened. Rah rah rah. But it was all his money, and now he wants a whole bunch more money, and so on. You know what can happen there. But he'll be lucky if he can get back to it. But when he doesn't, he goes to the same place and does the same bet, and eventually loses again. Like a person building in the same low lying area, or a place with storms, or a place that's going to burn a lot, right? A place with hardly no water. You got to expect things to happen, and if you don't plan ahead, you're gambling pretty much. Wouldn't that be right, Emma? If you don't plan ahead, you're gambling.
Yeah.
Huh? And for people who rant and people who are still getting there in life and stuff like that, they have to pick and choose, and it depends on their job and their opportunity, what people believe they're worth, and all that kind of stuff. You got to feel a little bit sorry for some, as they only they're there and working because of the opportunity. They're trying to get someone. They haven't got money yet. They haven't got the opportunity to have business. But when things all come in, storms happen, they lose everything, their rented house and all these things, well, they can only blame the society. Isn't that right, Emma? The businesses and all that, as they gambled too much. Now, a lot of these places say safety matters, but really does it when it comes to what just went down in a lot of these areas and they know it happens and it happens? It's not safety matters. It's more like safety mostly matters, but we'll take these gambles. That's how it'll be, wouldn't it, Emma? Because if safety matters, that means you would build a house where you know it floods up on a higher area, build it up higher, or have it on stilts as where places flood a lot more often than others. That's what they build, as they got sick of that, right? And they wanted more safety, so they built it as they get it every 2 years instead of every 20 years, right? Or 10 years. Or it's a one off. They might get it 3 times in the next 10 years. And that's what nature is. You're gambling with it, right? Um, so when things go wrong, unless you got insurance and other things, it's like buying a cheap product, isn't it? When it fails you, you just have to put up with it and go again. And that's what happens with the houses. But everyone covered for when we buy a cheap product and have a whinge and whine about, well, I lost everything, but I keep buying cheap products and I could have done a different approach to things. See, when someone had a different choice and other choices, they're the ones that should feel more guilty when things go down. They shouldn't feel that people should feel sorry for them, as they had opportunities to be wiser and weren't, just like the government. Right? And just like now, how they say when things happen, definitely over in America, is we build back better. You build back better, all right. You build back where you can build a home, and if you have trees around it, have it so your home can at least take the damages, right? Trim down the trees so there's not so much damages, real big trees around homes. Things like that, because a big tree can do a lot of damage. It can wipe out a whole home, a big enough tree, as you can see in some of these places. And a home costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So wouldn't it be nice to maintain that tree? You shouldn't have things around that can do so much damage, right? Things like that you can do if you still want to maintain a certain way. You got to just know what you got. So when you know you got a cheap product, oh, I can use it, but I've got to make sure I only use it 2 hours a day, as it says, because if I use it 8 hours a day, in 2 weeks it's not going to work. But if I use it 2 hours a day, I can get about 2 years out of it. I won't overwork it. And when it overheats, it's when it tends to break down quicker. Right? It's thinking like that. And so when it comes to these people going through things, I just go, and then the insurance company will be like, well, how's your gambling going now? They're all getting upset because we got all these buildings and we got climate change, they call it. It means nature's changing. It's doing things in areas where it usually doesn't. And it does it slowly too. But when I see people go through floods 5 years ago, and nature does it over 100 or 20 or 50 years, it says it's a while sometimes. But it's going to eventually be that place that has it every 2 weeks, like the other place used to, and then they won't. Right? But it usually gives us a long time to change and be wise about the buildings. If most people, not all people have to be wise. You can still have a lot of straw houses built, the gamblers. But if a lot of people who be wise have wise homes built, a little bit like the guy that built a concrete place, looked more like a dome. He didn't go about with the fancy looks and all that. He wanted to make sure that something would survive its weather. When a cyclone goes past, is in the cyclone path, they call it, all these certain states and towns, right? And so he built a building, and it took a little while, and guess what? God even gave him a demonstration to show the world, and it still didn't change nothing. So that's what I've noticed. When God believes something's a good idea, wants to support people, he'll let them have that. Like a cyclone come in, he got the opportunity to show, but it still wasn't enough for everyone, because we all got free will. And God will be like, I still wasn't enough. I bet you he's seen it. Maybe a little group. We've got a few more, right? To show that works. That his house is still sitting there. If we have most people, when a cyclone comes in or a tragedy comes in, and you at least have half of them that build strong houses, it can help the other half still carry on and rebuild as well. When you have a whole area wiped out, what do? You get chaos, don't you, Emma? But if you have more safety buildings and more buildings there, they can help the other people as they were wise with their money. Anyway, have a good one and see you later. Hopefully one day humans will get there, but it takes a collective to do it. It takes the government, everyone, meetings, standards. The government standards are pathetic.